But before we go into this, I'll give the floor to Mr. Ruslan Papazyan, who is the General Manager of Trelleborg Bulgaria. He's, as I already said, he is one of our strategic partners within the Academy, and he will present his company, who is very successful, international, innovative company, a real example.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to see that not everybody is affected by the after-lunch coma. So the lunch was too light, or the topic is too interesting, or maybe both. Thanks again for the invitation. Again, Ruslan Papazyan is my name, and I'm happy to represent Trelleborg as a company. Trelleborg is a global industrial company which has its feet all over the globe, but its heart mostly in Sweden. This is where the company has originated, and I'm expected to I will tell you a few words about Trelleborg. Why do we find it important to have the innovation? Where do we see potential threats that make it even more urgent to innovate? And just mention a few words, how did we apply the Eureka process? I was asked to give an example. I don't know, good or bad, you will judge after we end up, but starting with the conclusion, it was a very useful experience for us, and it really matched our priorities of innovation. Going back a bit to why do we need to innovate and what do we innovate with? First, very quickly about the company. What is interesting about the company is that we do polymers, so this is our focus, and we do them really for all industries, I would say globally, starting from space applications, satellites, and shuttles, going down to the deep seas and doing submarine components, going to humans, us, doing medical equipment components. So it's really very, very, very diverse. And we have started quite a long time ago with doing tires, so bike tires. So just with a few visuals, which will help me explain why do we need to innovate and what is specific about the innovation that we do. As you can see, the company does, I would say, in three major group solutions. So seal, damp, and protect, and these could be different seals within all industries. This is building, this is chemicals, this is airplanes and cars. Damping would be trains and machines and bridges and tunnels. And protection would be all kind of equipment for oil extraction, different kinds of piping. Massimo, you mentioned wine. Most of the wine in Bulgaria goes through piping from Trelleborg. I don't know if it's if it makes it better or worse, but it's still a fact. And then we also do tires, very special tires that we design to save soil and environment. And you can see it's a huge diversity of topics, technology topics. And if we want to innovate and if we want to stay in business starting from 1905, it will be very difficult for us to make innovation which is focused technology innovation. We cannot innovate in all areas alone. We do not have the capacity, we don't want to have the capacity to do that. So it's very important that we first innovate with our customers or with the end users, and it's also important that we innovate in all kinds of areas of the final delivery of the product, which could be the technology itself. Yes, it's the the primary suspect of innovation, but it's also related to the business model, it's related to the delivery, it's related to executing the same function with a different technology. That is also a way. The Kodak example is one of these. You can still make a picture, but it's now different ways to do that as compared to Kodak. And we know that there are threats, for example, to give you a flavor of what we work with. For example, in the business of doing all these kind of physical products, say one area of very high expertise for the team is to do internal combustion engines, seals for internal combustion engines. I mean, internal combustion engines have a lot of oil. The oil has to stay where it is in the engine, and you have to seal it to do that. Well, there are electric cars coming. No oil, nothing to keep in. So obviously you have a challenge when it comes to certain area of production, which we have to, so to say, find other use of. Or if we have to be useful to our customers, we have to be useful in a different way. Another area of expertise, we do a lot of, so to say, buttons. Maybe most of you are touching Trelleborg products every day because we have in the cars, a lot of the buttons are related to products that we do. But now more and more cars will have screens instead of buttons. So, again, something that we have to work with in order to make sure that we stay relevant to the needs of the customers. So, having all these discussions, we decided to, and this brings me to the story, we decided to try different areas of innovation and to try different ways to innovate. It was a very good discussion, obviously, that we had with the team that is present here, and we really were convinced that we needed to make a try. And what we did is that we gathered an international team. The international team consisted of representatives from different geographic parts of the organization when it comes to grasping all the market requirements. It consisted of production related people, which were related to the way that we deliver. It was consisting of business people, it was consisting of R&D people, and we all gathered in Sofia. Why Sofia? Well, Sofia, and this is a very short overview of what we do in Bulgaria, actually is a global company, and we do actually quite a lot. The blue markets are the markets which are covered from Bulgaria, so we have quite a few markets, 60 plus. So we do understand quite a lot of the requirements which are going on, especially, well, say between Europe and China. We are somewhere in this area, and you see we are operationally strongly in several countries, and we do quite a lot of market segments. So this gives us a good input to be in Bulgaria globally. And as I mentioned, we gathered the team. One of the conclusions really was that it was extremely important that we make sure to have relevant team members in the discussion, meaning that we have really representatives from production, we have really representatives from, say, marketing, sales, I mean, which are the end contact to the team. We have representatives from finance, because a lot of the processes in large organizations will be related to financial and generally business processes. So, and why is this important? Because, I mean, as it came out from the discussion, you should never make assumptions. I mean, sometimes, marketing people will think that they know everything, or production would think that they know quite a lot. So, in this discussion, and as the business opportunity map shows quite clearly, it's important that you populate all ideas from relevant stakeholders who really have experience with these ideas, if it's marketing, production, delivery, and so forth. So as you can see, it was a relatively large team. This was a summary, so it was quite intensive in between. I mean, we had very intensive separate discussions, separate groups. It was, we made sure that we had teams, again, which represent the diversity of the complete value chain, covering the whole value chain. We had two topics, for example, in this session. We were, as it is also in the process, you have to define what do we like to achieve, and we have defined for ourselves to look into two ways of innovation, or two subjects of innovation. One was product innovation, which is a bit more standard for the technology company, and then one was also to look into service innovation, which will be related to business processes, to the way that you deliver the product, adjacent activities around delivery and so forth. So, I mean, these were the two topics, and I mean, the outcomes were, I would say, really useful. I mean, we do use now some of these outcomes. in our daily work. I'm not going to share which one. I mean, 750 million in patents. Well, maybe we will fail someday, but we want to sell the 700 million in IP. Joking aside, what was really appreciated again was a very structured process which brings together different functions, again, across the value chain. What was very important is to bring really representatives from these team members. And what was very useful is to really start with a very concrete subject of discussion. Because everybody has good ideas, obviously, but you have to channel them in a certain way. And as you can see, well, you don't see, but you can assume that in an engineering company there will be quite a few engineers, fortunately or not. So we all like structure, and this was really appreciated, and it was very well used, this structured process, which I hope you will all enjoy later this afternoon. So with this I would like to wrap up, and obviously I will be available for questions now or a bit later. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.